Very good. Now the root text, number 11. Appearances are infallible, dependent, arising. Emptiness is free from a certain anything. As long as these two are understood as separate, you have not yet realized the Buddha's intent. So this stanza is very important. It's talking about the definition of not having completed the analysis of the right view. So this stanza means all of these appearances are inevitably dependent arising. Therefore, the nature of these appearances are free from all kinds of extremes. Why? Because of emptiness. This is a little bit difficult to understand, even though in the Buddha's time, people were very intelligent, right? But the Buddha, at first, he believed that the true nature of reality would be a little bit difficult to understand. Therefore, after Buddha reached enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, his first words were Sabishitupter Wasar Dimashi Dutstavi Chujik Dakini Sula Tanjang Kor Manjari Mana Nandabnyat Nibrahya, which means like I realize the profound nature of peaceful, clear luminosity, uncompounded and free from complexities. Sabishitupter Wasar Dimashi I have achieved that nectar-like realization. But if I teach you this, you will not understand without a good foundation. So he remained in sort of silence without teaching for 49 days, I think, after his enlightenment. But, according to the Vajrayana, the self-arising wisdom point of view, if Buddha came to this world and teaches about true nature, or Buddha didn't come and didn't teach, it doesn't matter. The true nature's qualities would not have been lost. The nature of the ground always remains as it is. That's they say. That's Samantabhadra says, right? Do you remember in his prayer? Therefore, self-appearances is not obscured. Buddha in sutras says, Sarjinam Shunjarong, Mavshin Jarong, Chunamji Chunin, Yeni Nibao, means like, if Buddha came or Buddha didn't come, it doesn't matter. This true nature is there. But Buddha came and taught because without his instruction, we couldn't understand. But the nature itself, the nature of this ground always remains as it is. That's Padmasambhava says. Therefore, the self self-arising wisdom is not obscured, because it is not obscured by ignorance. So the nature of mind is pure. That's why they say nature of mind is pure, which is the subject, relative kind of point of view. We have subject, we have object. So the nature of mind is pure, which is subject. And if the subject is pure, then the object are also pure, you know. So if you see something very beautiful, if you have a beautiful mind, you see everything's beautiful because of your subject. Your mind is pure. If you're angry, your mind is angry, and then you see everything is wrong. Because then object. So therefore, Samantabhata Purya said, if self-awareness remains in itself, no fear arises, even if the three realms are destroyed, right? Because there is no attachment to the five objects of enjoyment. We attach to objects, right? Because our mind's obscured. But self-awareness, wisdom, arising wisdom itself, there's no fear, no hope. So therefore, there's no attachment to the five objects. Therefore, when we relax in the original state, nothing happens to us. We just rest in the natural state the whole time. Usually when the death comes, the biggest change in our lives, right? But the great sort of this Dzogchen practitioners are never worried about it because they are maintain their realization in the original state of true nature. So they even look forward to moving through this kind of different stages and process. So if we maintain our nature of mind, then even if we are surrounded by these sort of pleasurable objects, we will not become attached. Instead, we will be able to see them without attachment or clinging, grasping. And if we become able to do that, we will have Dzogchen, this method, technique, called liberating every pleasurable object into its own nature state. Brahmasambhava said that. We will still enjoy, but we don't become attached to them. Therefore, it doesn't become bound to us. Samsara, this pleasurable object, is not bad at all. Buddhist point of view, remember yesterday, even though like renunciation mind point of view, you don't have to give these things up. The thing is inside here. That's Dzogchen point of view, same thing. We can still enjoy, but there is no attachment. So emptiness and dependent arising are established as inseparable. If we don't realize this inseparability, we don't have the recognition of the nature of emptiness. Remember yesterday we talked about the Satya tradition, the pattern from the four attachment. it says, if there is a grasping, you don't have the view. That's the same thing. If that's the Lama Tsongkhapa says here too. Supposed to be like emptiness and appearance, the dependent arisings are, established as inseparable. But if we don't see that, if we don't have that recognition, realization, then we don't have the view. And if we don't have this recognition of this true nature, then no matter what other realizations we might have without the wisdom realizing emptiness, we cannot cut the root of samsara. That is the point. So when we talk about emptiness, when we say, the mind is empty, right? Mind is empty. But it doesn't mean that the mind doesn't exist or that the emptiness of mind is like empty space that has nothing in it. But it has the ability to understand everything. Everything. That's why self-arising wisdom. It's like a cursor, A cursor is clear, very clear, right? Yet perfectly reflects appearances. Our mind is like that cursor, pure and clear, yet all appearances can arise in it. That's why I never think like, oh, mind is empty. It doesn't mean it's empty space that has nothing in it. It has this kind of quality. It has this ability to, understand everything. That's why they call it omniscient mind, tamchit cheba, all-knowing. Because once we have that quality, we have ability to understand everything. That's why as when we talk about the Buddha knows, like this 500 fishermen, right away they become a Buddhist because he knows how to teach them. He knows how to change their mind because he has the ability to understand their minds, their personality. So that's why enlightenment when we get enlightenment, we have that capacity. Then we can help sentient beings countlessly. That's the reason we want attain enlightenment. Otherwise, why we want enlightenment? So our mind is amazing. Our mind is like that kind of thing, ability. And there is a kind of knowing quality. There's a knowing quality, which is what we call self-arising wisdom, right? So the self-arising means there are three qualities. Essence, nature, and compassion. In Tibetan, we say ngo. In Tibetan, means the essence. It's this ground, one ground, essence, the great emptiness, the primordial wisdom, emptiness, great emptiness. And then we say ramjin in Tibetan, ramjin. Ramjin means nature. It is spontaneous clarity and luminous. And then third, we say tukji. Okay? Tukji means like compassion. It is the genuine heart. It is the sort of unseasoned manifestation of pure love and compassion. Not just compassion, not just love, but great compassion, great love. So that is the self-arising wisdom means. It has these three qualities. The nature of mind is the ground, okay? Right? Nature of mind is this ground. And it has these three qualities. Same thing like bodhicitta mind has three qualities. Remember yesterday we talked about? Gentle, peace, openness, all of that, right? Same thing. This nature, the self-arising wisdom has Ngo, Ramjin, Tukji. There's three qualities. Although in Samanthabhada's prayer there are 5 qualities, remember? We're not going to talk about that. But once you understand this, then you understand all of that. So the nature of mind is the ground. It has these 3 qualities, okay? Essence, nature, and compassion. So this is the true nature of all beings. Not only Buddha has this, we all have that, right? Do you believe yourself? That's why I say sometimes when we investigate like that, I don't know who I am, you know? But then you understand these things, your basic goodness. Then you have these 3 qualities. Very excited to develop these qualities because we have it, right? But right now our window is so dirty and can't see these 3 qualities. Once we clean the window, then we have these 3 qualities. So this is what we have behind the illusion of me, I, right? So that arises due to the manifestation of self-grasping. So, you know, there are a lot of things we have to learn in order to understand the ultimate level. Because our appearance in the world is not like this. It's not like this. How we think, how we do, everything is exist. Right? In the middle way, Chantakurt says that ordinary point of view, there is nothing we need to debate. Everything looks like exists and works. Yeah. Relative point of view, ordinary point of view, yeah. Everything looks like exists and works. When we're thirsty, we drink water, work. When we're hungry, we eat food, work. Everything works. Buddha said that too. I have no debate with you. Relative point of view, you know. So it's work, but it's like a dream. It's like a dream. We just believe it and then work. Everything's our mind. So, but when we talk about this kind of self-arising wisdom, the nature mind, we have to understand the reality. Then we are no longer in this relative place, this samsara. We little bit kind of, you know, higher than this place. Then everything's changed. Everything's changed. Our view, the way we think, way we do, everything changed on this level. So therefore, again, when we say the mind is empty, it doesn't mean that the mind doesn't exist at all. Buddha also sees these things. Whatever we see, he things relatively, but ultimately he has the essence, nature, and compassion. Because this self-arising wisdom of the true nature of the, you know, both this emptiness, the empty and fully sort of aware. This is very important. Empty and fully aware, okay? These 2 qualities, the emptiness and the awareness, are inseparable. So that's why we call it luminous wisdom. That's why if we meditate on this, we will develop the wisdom of emptiness and the wisdom of appearances, because these 2 are not separate. but they are separate only by our relative mind. That's why the root texts say, as long as these two are understood as separate, you have not realized the Buddha's intent. So if we understand the view of this inseparability of dependent arising and emptiness, then we can destroy all our wrong views and develop self-arising wisdom. If we want to eliminate self-grasping, then we must understand this dependent arising and its emptiness. These are very important. There is a dependent arising because emptiness. There is the emptiness because dependent arising. If you understand this completely, you have to study middle way. If we understand it, that's how we destroy the self-grasping. So, as you know, now we all the time over and going to say self-grasping is the root of samsara. So therefore, from Buddhist point of view, it's very difficult for a person to experience non-attachment. It's very difficult with samsaric sort of mind that doesn't approach an understanding of the true nature of phenomena at all. Because we remain caught up in something completely unreal and accept it as real. Because the mind has this incorrect way to perceiving. That's why marikpa in Tibet, not knowing. Gajit tradition, the Telupa master said that you are not bound to samsara by appearances. You are bound to samsara by conceptual attachment. Therefore, cut the root of this attachment, he said that. Never say, give up your belongings, give up all of your friends, family. Never say that, but cut the root of this attachment. This attachment is based on self-grasping. What is the antidote of self-grasping? Understand interdependent arising and emptiness inseparably. That is the destroyer. So, how many of you have experienced non-attachment? From the Buddhist point, like the philosophical point of view, attachment for something, means like that it's very difficult for us to separate from it, right? So therefore, difficult to experience non-attachment, especially teachers say that the biggest problem in the West is attachment. The Western's life is built by attachment. It's maybe true, I'm not sure. So when you think about, maybe true, because so many options, we have so beautiful things, these objects, enjoyable objects. That's why, we develop through, all of this. So maybe true. So therefore, when you think about attachment, it is very bad because it makes us suffer a lot. For instance, when we think of, yesterday we talk about the four endings, right? For example, when we think about four endings, this is the definition of samsara, right? So the end of gathering is separation. So when we get together, we are so happy, right? Dharma brothers, sisters, and then we listen, teaching together, meditate together, have a fun, it's very happy. But at the end of this gathering, we separate, then we are unhappy. And the end of accumulation is exhaustion, right? You have to understand this. When we make money, for instance, we are happy for sure. But when we have spent it or when we lost it, and then we are very unhappy. No matter how much we get, we will lose it all at the end. And then we will suffer from it. Then the end of birth, end of being high is falling down. So when we have the high position, we are happy for sure. But when we lose it, we are unhappy. So no matter how high we get, it doesn't remain forever. And then finally, end of birth is death. When you are born, I think you are happy. But when death comes, you are unhappy. So you see, all this happen because of attachment. Happy, unhappy. Happy, unhappy. It's definition. It's just the essence of samsara. Because of attachment. That's the thing. Attachment, to our side and aversion to other side is the root of all problems. So as long as we have this strong self desire existing within us, then all other problems exist as well. And non-attachment is an equal mind, right? Non-attachment, equal mind, which is the stable mind, which is this kind of basic goodness. So when we get something, we are happy. And when we have happiness, sooner or later, we will suffer, right? Because samsara's pleasures are a very temporary imitation. This is very nice. In Tibetan, Junma means like not real. Imitation of happiness. Looks like really happy, but it's essence of, it's not the real thing because of the mind, So this kind of happiness is not good quality. So if we don't have renunciation and what do you call it? Bodhicitta, great wisdom, then all our good and bad situations therefore go back to this root of self-grasping mind. So we really need to understand the main cause, the problem. And to eliminate self-grasping, we must develop these three principles. So if we do this, we can destroy the self-grasping mind. Because renunciation takes you out of suffering of samsara, and bodhicitta helps us to experience samsara as pleasant. And emptiness, this correct view, protects us from being caught up in the two extremes. When we experience appearance, we forget emptiness, right? And we always separate the experience from emptiness. We always take one side of appearances. Then this takes us to extremes of nihilism, they call it eternalism. So it is difficult to experience the union of emptiness and appearances because we have such strong habits of separating appearance and emptiness. If we don't have these three practices, and if we don't understand these teachings, then no matter what we do, it is done with confusion, which is this separation. That's why Lama Tsongkhapa says, as long as you don't understand this, then there is no way to recognize the essence of appearances. For example, think about in 365 days a year, imagine how many thoughts, ideas, and emotions have accumulated inside our mind. When we see someone has something beautiful, then we immediately develop our attachment to it. That's why I think Western's life built by attachment means like we have so many beautiful things. So then when you see it, we develop the attachment. And then all other emotions develop like that. So within 1 year, we have developed these strong habits. Even when we practice, we develop our desires. Anyway, then the root text number 12. When these happen simultaneously, these means two realizations, okay? These are not in root text. When these happen simultaneously, these means two realizations, just like we talked about, not alternately, and from merely scene-dependent arising is completely infallible, brings the certainty that destroys all modes of apprehending objects, which is truly existent. At that time, the analysis of the ultimate view is complete, is truly existent. This also is not in our text, okay? So namjik rinjok me per jikcherta means simultaneously, not alternately. When you sit, when you see this, you also see emptiness. That is the simultaneously means. Timder mulhan tongwa zamyina. Mulha means like inevitable. Understand the interdependent arising and emptiness. Nishir jinzan tang kanshik nas brings the certainty that destroys all modes appear objects. That's Tetse means at that time, Shatpa means analysis. Tawa means view. The ultimate view is completed. So this stanza is the definition of having completed the analysis of the right view. So here it says these two realizations, do you remember in the last stanza, talked about as long as dependent arising and emptiness are understood as separate, we have not yet realized the ultimate view. So then, these two realization means that. So then you may ask, when we will have the ultimate view and realization. This stanza gives you the answer, right? It says, when these two realizations are happening simultaneously and not alternating. That is the answer, which means when you see all these appearances are dependently arising, but at the very same time, you also realize that they appear out of emptiness. So when these two realizations are not alternate, but simultaneously arising, then Tsongkhapa says your analysis of the profound view is complete, and you have the ultimate view. We don't have that, right? When we see this, we see it very solid. Sometimes teachers show you these magic things, food sprint and all of that, right? When they touch, they have this simultaneous, this realization. They have no solid idea, this guy. So you can put a footprint on the rock. They don't do that just because they do this. Sometimes it helps students, They do sometimes, not always. But from their point of view, they have no this solid that we have. They have this simultaneous realization, not alternate. Then you can do these things. Footprints or Milarepa flew, right? Flew the sky like that. We can't because we think we don't have wings, then we can't fly. But if we have this realization, definitely we can. It's amazing, right? It's amazing. It's just little things here that we have to destroy. It's not just outside this object, these things, just inside. So if we don't have this kind of solid idea, this like permanent idea, then we can do these magic things. I mean, it's not necessarily these magic things, but it's just nice sometimes to see it, So Buddhist teacher, the Nagarjuna, explains that it is only by cultivating insight into the emptiness of the self and emptiness of phenomena, right, that you can see through your delusions and bring this whole deluded chain of cause and effect to an end. Samsara end. Therefore, understanding the inseparability of dependent arising and emptiness is the very essence of the practice of Buddha's teaching. That's why I said this interdependent arising is a unique teaching of Buddhism. So we understand everything's interdependent arising, cause and condition. We understand that, right? But we don't have the realization, this its essence, this simultaneous, the recognition. We don't have that. When we see this, then we have this. And then we investigate. When investigate, we understand. We have attached to our body, and then we don't have the emptiness, the recognition. Then we investigate. Yes, there's no body, such things body. But we are very separated, these two things. Then there's no view, no correct view, no realization. So, this realization comes from, generally speaking, like four different traditions, right? So the practice of great middle way, the Gelug tradition, the practice of great path and fruit, Lamrim, Satya tradition, the practice of Mahamudra, the Karjit tradition, and the practice of Mahadi, which is the great perfection, the Nyingma tradition. So when you think about this realization, the union of appearances and emptiness, the way you investigate and the way you caution yourself brings you closer to the nature of that realization. And through practicing this, we will know the essence of appearances. Through our own experience, we experience ourselves and this world in a non-dualistic way. which is seeing the essence of appearances as the essence of our minds. So then, we no longer trust our own this ego. We don't trust anymore. This is not true, right? So we don't trust. Once we have this correct view and recognition, we don't trust our ego. Then we are no longer part of the relative world. Because in order to become a part of this world, we have to have a dualistic mind and concept. So for example, if you don't sort of stir, the water will come very sort of clear. Padmasambhava says that you will see through everything in the water, right? Similarly, if you leave your mind naturally and completely open without any sort of manipulation, is we call mapchupa, genuine. So the nature mind, if you leave it on nature completely, and then you find its essence. You find its essence, these three qualities. You find its essence, you find its nature, you find great compassion there. Otherwise, it doesn't work with the dualistic mind. What is the dualistic mind? Actually, dual means two, right? Two. In Tibetan, two. Dual means two. So in Buddhism, when there are two things that are always contradicting each other, that is what we call dualistic mind. We separated these two things. We contradict these two things. Then we have dualistic mind. Because our mind is not rest in sort of equality. We have not attained the peace of ultimate reality. Therefore, the teachers, we meditate, the single-pointed concentration is very useful, right, for cutting this sort of gross dualistic mind, especially when you want to recognize the union of appearances and emptiness. This realization cannot happen when your mind is dualistic. So the dualistic mind has many gross and subtle sort of levels. And the way to eliminate it is to start with the gross first and then progress to the subtle. In middle way, Nagarjuna say that it's like when you washing your clothes, When you wash your clothes, first you wash off all the big, right, visible stains. And they're actually easy to wash, right? Once those are gone, then you can get rid of all the small, like more subtle stains. These are difficult to wash it. The same thing, this self-grasping. First we have to, wash the gross things, practice through relative bodhicitta. And then in detail, subtle, this, self-grasping, we have to use ultimate bodhicitta, this inseparable appearances and emptiness. All right? So this you should remember, this stanza is so beautiful. Namjik rinjok me particular timdrim tongwa zamnyin na ngishir jinzan. Today these two stanzas are so beautiful. These are very common. When we studied Buddhist philosophy, these are so useful. Sometimes we couldn't understand, but when we see this, it's so easy to understand. So remember that, because then, and also next time, like whenever you see appearance outside, at the same time, try to remember its essence. It's emptiness. It helps you not to touch to it, right? Otherwise, oh, this is beautiful. I want to buy it. Right? And then I don't have money, you know, and then I can't let go. What should I do, right? But when you see it beautiful, you enjoy it, and oh, it's emptiness, right? Your attachment destroyed there. I mean, even like Nagarjuna says, intellectually understand this view is really useful, very helpful. Experientially, of course, right? But even like intellectually, you understand this two not separate, this inseparability of this appearance emptiness. Very useful. Okay, now meditate for a few minutes. Meditation is the way we realize nature mind. Therefore, it is something that we absolutely necessary, we absolutely have to do, right? So the moment when we meditate, you know, when you close your eyes, some kind of thoughts is going to arise. So make sure that you are aware of your thoughts. And especially be aware of your mind's view, you know, this view, the essence of your own thoughts. This is the view. So meditation doesn't mean that you should sort of squeeze yourself tightly. Oh, I can't have these thoughts. I can't follow these thoughts. It's like very, you know, you squeeze yourself tightly. But you should just completely go loose, sort of, you know. Both are not so cracked, right? So you just be aware that you have thoughts. So meditation is like actually when as soon as you start, your awareness begin to radiate. When you meditate, your mind becomes aware. You become very aware, become very like sensitive, aware, you know. It means like you are aware of what's going on. So in meditation, you are learn how to control and then eventually, of course, eliminate the uncontrolled mind, right? This dualistic mind, right? But relatively, like when we meditate like bodhicitta, sometimes when we think about like nice, kind thoughts instead of like unkind thoughts, peaceful thoughts instead of like very angry thoughts, like that, right? But this kind of point of view, that's also another obstacle. So now meditate without an object. So that means the mind is not focused on anything, okay, but rest and completely and relaxation. Every time your mind is distracted by a thought, bring it back to the relaxation, this great view, and then do not focus on anything. Just relax without distraction, without thought. And if it is difficult, you can pause your thoughts and let your thoughts a little bit sort of cool down first, and then slowly start looking at your mind and free your mind from your thoughts. And when thoughts arise, look at nature of thoughts and recognize that these thoughts are the manifestation, right, of your this ground, this view, great view. So recognize the nature of thoughts and let them naturally dissolve into this view, great view, into the nature of your mind. So then just relax there. So meditate on that few minutes, 5 minutes, please.